You feel like that's what happened with
Yeah, I mean,
McDonald's?
look, there's something about when you take ownership of something that is very empowering, and I think it changes the energy in a city. But you and I both, and I've listened to you enough to know that we know that about our lives. And I always tell people we have a choice to make in every moment of our life. It's to accept things as they are or take responsibility for changing them. And when you begin to get that kind of empowerment, because this life, we were talking before we were on camera, there's lots of things going on around the world and it can feel very disempowering, make you feel small. And I always tell people, never allow your inability to do everything to undermine your determination to do something, even if it's just one small act, and never underestimate how that one small act can resonate.
Yes.
And the great example of this, already on what we've talked about, is what did these folks who were marching in the 1960s and all this have anything to do with you and I in a different generation? Well, the lawyers that helped my family move into the house in Harrington Park, New Jersey, I had to track them down for my book because I had to fact check every story I was telling. I didn't want to have one of these moments.
Yep.
So I wanted to find out, what was the size of the dog, really?
Thanks, Dad.
Yeah, so I talked to the head lawyer who was organizing people to help people like my parents. And I said, well, why would you, a young guy just starting out, why would you get involved in this creative protest? And he goes, well, I remember the day. It was a Monday. And I goes, a Monday? He goes, yeah, it was a Monday because that Sunday, I was at my house in New Jersey watching these marchers on a bridge called the Edmund Pettus Bridge. It was Bloody Sunday when John Lewis got hit and everything. And it just so stunned me to think that those creative protesters in Birmingham, Alabama, instantaneously, their love and sacrifice changed the heart of a guy in New Jersey who then got involved. He said one of the case files he was handed was Carrie and Carolyn Booker, my parents, that literally then changed generations yet unborn. I would not be here right now if it wasn't for that chain of love that moved space and time to affect my life. And so we underestimate what small acts, like I can't pick your headline from today. You feel disempowered by it, but maybe it's just one small thing I can do to make my city better. I can tell the mayor about this one pothole. And I've had friends of mine since then tell me stories about a lot on a street that everybody passed by with dirt and debris and deciding just to clean up a lot, and how kids would come out and it changed the temperature. We found that on murals, getting a local artist say, we're gonna paint the side of this building, and how it changes the temperature. One small act of creative engagement can send ripples out that we don't even understand to make a difference. That's the power we have to change our world that we so often don't use, because what Alice Walker said, the most common way we give up our power is not realizing we have it in the first place. So I listen to you and I have a lot of respect for you, and you and I both know we're not. You said this yourself. Like I was asking you about your morning routine, and you're like, I don't always do it. I know I need to meditate every morning. I'm better when I do. I know I need to get sleep. And sometimes I sit up there eating, Doritos, watching TV a little too late. So it takes work. But I think that it's having that aspiration in your heart to live your life some way, and to know it's a struggle and know you're not going to be perfect. I just, on the way here, I passed by a McDonald's in my neighborhood, and I love this McDonald's because it reminds me of a lesson that my driver, the guy who drives me around, a retired detective, grew up in the projects. We drove through the drive-through. I'm embarrassed to tell you, I'm a vegan actually, so I'm embarrassed to say that I was going into a McDonald's drive-through. It was, very embarrassing, but I'll never forget, they hand us 2 large fries through the drive-through window. And these are succulent, like ambrosia. It's like they must sprinkle them with some illegal substance. And I'm so happy about these 2 fries, but there's a guy in the dumpster right by us, and I say, hey man, you need some help. And that's how I think I'm wired. I think I'm doing the right thing. And he goes, I don't need any help. He sort of waves me off. I go, man, is there something I can do for you? He goes, I'm just hungry. And so I painfully give him one of my 2 large fries, thinking I've done my good deed. But then he looks at me with anguish in his face, and he goes, hey man, I need some socks. Do you have any socks? And I'm thinking to myself, I don't carry extra socks in my car. And just as I'm sort of like telling him no, Kevin, the guy's driving me, throws the car in park, reaches between his legs, takes off the socks he's wearing, hands them through the window. Now I'm 3 blocks from my house. If you're like me, I have tons of socks in my drawers I don't even wear that my mother gave me for some birthday 6 years ago. But I just wasn't thinking creatively enough about how to help people. And so I don't know how I am who I am. I just know that I'm an imperfect model for anybody, but I know the most important thing about what I do is that struggle. And the more you fight, this is sports taught you and I, that the struggle's what's important. Football was one of the best, sports period was one of the best gifts of my life, because I just learned that the harder you work, the better you get. And I also learned this incredible lesson about, if you really want to be good at something, you got to be willing to give something up. Just because I learned that if you want the things other people don't have, you've got to be willing to do the things that other people don't do. We're going to have to pledge, mutually pledge. It's the end of the Declaration of Independence. Mutually pledge to each other our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor. And that's where I wonder, when we pledge allegiance to the flag, when we sing songs about our country, are we internalizing that and making that real every single day, pledging to other people? I mean, we are at the point now where we can't even be nice to each other if we find out you're a different political party. I tell this story about Chris Christie. I was sitting there, again, probably on my couch, eating.
You guys are friends, but you disagree, right? Is that how it goes?
Chris is my friend. I could write a dissertation on my disagreements with him. But I'm the mayor of the largest city. He's the governor of the state. Our state needs us to work together. And so I'm watching his Republican primary, and I was ready to scream at I think I had an afro, then I pulled all my hair out. And I look at this as he gets lambasted by others for hugging Barack Obama. Now, when he hugged Barack Obama, it was after Hurricane Sandy had devastated our state. People died, billions of dollars of property damage. People lost their homes, all their possessions. Chris showed real emotion, like crying in these places. Obama flies in, Air Force One, to survey the damage. He comes down, and the two of them hug. Now, I'm a hugger. That wasn't even a good hug. It was one of those uncomfortable guy hugs. But we've created an environment right now that just because you have different political beliefs, we're so vilifying you that human contact now is being. We can't survive as a country if we can't love one another. We don't always have to agree. It doesn't mean I don't fight against your policies, but there's got to be a core of love where I look at you and I see your divinity or I see your worth. I see your importance to the larger cause of our country. I think you're right. So I love writing poetry. I do, and it's bad poetry. But I love writing it. And I think that something I've learned is if something sources you, like if I'm really emotionally stuck, I'll write a poem. And occasionally I'll post them online. And like maybe 10% of the comments is thank you for posting. Other people will just shellac me for like, you're a politician, why are you doing this? And it's like, I just think that often the fear about being creative is that you're taking a risk, you're exposing yourself, especially, I don't care what your form of creativity is, but you're risking criticism. And I think that's often the thing that makes people feel constipated in their desire to continue the practice.
For sure. For those folks at home who are identifying with what Cory's saying about risk, there's a great bit called, it's the versus the man in the arena. It's a Roosevelt quote and Brene Brown helped me understand that. I don't know if you know Brene, she's an incredible thinker. And you should be critical, you should listen to criticism only from other people who have put themselves in the arena, not from the people.
It's not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbled or how the doer of deeds could have done better. It's the man actually in the arena, face marred with sweat, dirt, and blood. I mean, it's a powerful, powerful quote.
Talk about hijacking your stuff.
I'm sorry.
Coming off the top turnbuckle.
I'm sorry.
Kapow!
No. It's
Superfly snuck it right on my neck. Beautiful. Thank you for grabbing that, because I don't know it well enough. I know it just enough to be dangerous and miss like every other word, but that was beautiful. No, that's good. So, that's great.
But seriously, that's like even me, and I have to say, I have this one poem I wrote, like, may your critics make you humble, may your haters make you wise, may you learn from every stumble, and when you fall, may you rise, rise, rise. And so I write poems that I want to remind me that, like in the job I'm in, and my staff is dealing with a situation now, like we get outrageous criticism from people who should be our friends, from the left, from the right, and you have to remind yourself every day, why are you doing this? Are you doing this for the applause and for people to stand up and say how great you are? Or are you on a mission that's bigger than you are? And if you're on a mission that's bigger than you are, you can't let people snuff out your energy, your desire to fight, your desire to keep being in it. And that's hard for me because I'm a big social media user and I see it all. And my staff is like, please put down the Twitter. Or they'll preemptively say, you're gonna get a lot of criticism for X. But whatever, and it's just hard. That's a hard thing to get over, and this is something that I don't often talk about. But I was terrified as a child, and I say it's a child. It lasted well into my maybe early 30s is when I finally really turned a corner in speaking in front of people. And my most embarrassing childhood moment was the first political office I ever ran for, president of Harrington Park Elementary 7th grade class.
Oh my God!
And I literally had this moment. Where I froze in front of my class, including like the girl I had a crush on, and and just couldn't get a word out. And I went home that night and I literally cried and was so devastated by this embarrassing moment. And I was just petrified and terrified. But I still swore at that moment, literally lying in a ball on my bed, that I would one day be a great speaker. And the thing that enabled me to do it, and some of the people who've been with me in politics since in my 20s still remember how like I would just sweat, and fear sweat is like a stinky sweat. and I like when I had to give a speech, I would just get nervous, and it just took me a long while to get over, but it meant me getting up and throwing myself over the cliff I was afraid of again and again and again, until I got to the point where I started to thrive off of the jump, off of the leap. And so, you know, I just think that I could have been stifled in terms of my life, or I could now be, the gift that I've gotten from all that struggle is it's now one of my favorite ways to communicate, to stand in front of a crowd and try to take my heart plug and plug it into the people who are there. And again, it's a practice, so there are times I'm in it and I feel incredibly effective, and I feel like I'm channeling something that's not me. Yeah. But that's like proper sleep. It's like sleep. My Uncle Butch, I am Butch, tells me, lecture me, sleep is a weapon, sleep is a weapon, sleep is a weapon. But finding a way to get proper sleep is like, it's a difference between me being effective and being able to summon good spirit and energy easily, or have to struggle to be positive.
We did talk about that before that we started recording too.
I'm going to try
the sleep hack.
I'm going to try your sleep hack.
Okay, 2 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar, 1 tablespoon of honey mixed with water in a cup. Drink that before you go to sleep.
I should report in.
You should. Just flip me a note. I want to know tomorrow morning you wake up, and it's either going to be like it's on or nah.
I want to give it do it a couple times. I'm a vegan now because I did, I love Gandhi's autobiography, My Experiments with Truth. I decided 3 months I was going to try being a vegetarian, and I was a competitive athlete at the time. Transformed me, workouts, everything like that. So I'm going to give this a little time.
Sweet.
But sleep, exercise, meditation, if I can get those 3 things in. And then I have to say, I learned from the podcast, we were talking about Tim the other day. This is why I like one of you two together lecturing me about sleep hacks.
And meditation. I was going to get Tim to meditate first.
Did you really?
Yeah, me and Rick Rubin, the music producer,
yes.
hitting him from both sides. Like, dude, you got to do this. It's going to unlock you. And for hard-charging type A people, you think that your edge comes from your aggro nature, and then you realize after meditation that thing that you thought was your catapult.
So this is something I don't think I've ever shared publicly, but my aha moment that I got from meditating, and I started when I was coming out of England going into law school, and I sought out this Buddhist teacher to teach me to meditate, and I didn't realize that my emotional states were the product of my thoughts. It was like a really interesting aha moment, and that I could control my thoughts. Yes. And that was the thing, that my thoughts weren't me, and that I had records that I would play over and over again, and if I could pull myself out and just be a witness, it gave me so much more power over my emotional states. And it was an awakening I had in law school. It's not in any of my legal classes, but literally sitting with this Buddhist teacher. It was this shift of consciousness that I had about how so much more control. And that's why I love quotes like Viktor Frankl's book, A Man's Search for Meaning.
Powerful book, yes.
Unbelievable. And this one I used to be able to quote directly, but paraphrasing him, he said, we who were in the concentration camps remember those people who shared their only piece of bread, even though they themselves were starving, comforted others, even though they themselves were suffering the same circumstances. It's a testimony of the greatest of all human freedoms, the ability to choose your attitude in any given set of circumstances. And that's why when I've listened to you talk a lot, it's beautiful. It's like, it's poetry to me when you talk about gratitude. And I think you have, for those of you who have not listened to you speak about gratitude, it's a choice. And so that it was the power of meditation for me, is that realizing that, and it also reminding me, and I'll remember this at times, that just breathe. And somehow then I'm able to witness my emotional state and realize that that's not who I am. I'm not that emotional state. I'm something larger, bigger, that's reflected by all the people around me. And it's also helped me when somebody is like making me want to punch them. And I'm a very peaceful guy, but the body slamming of reporters seems to be in.
Oh my gosh.
But to all of a sudden, just breathe, and then it helps me to see the divinity in whoever I'm around.
It's such a simple thing, and then it's so profound.
Yes. my ideal morning is get up, make my bed.
Yes.
I just never realized the power of that. My mom wished I'd learned this lesson decades ago because she would lecture
Thanks,
me about
Mom.
it. That's why my mom has this saying, behind every successful child is an astonished parent, because my mom can't believe, this is the guy who couldn't get to make his bed, to mow the lawn, you're a senator? Make my bed, work out, meditate. But then there comes that choice. Tune into my electronics, flip on the news, because I'd much rather listen to a podcast from you on being, something that sources my soul or my spirit or instructs me, or to tap into the news of the day. Go right, and that's always because then my state often gets drawn right in.
You're not deciding what your state is
Yeah.
if you're not prepared before you go in.
Yeah.
Senator Booker, thank you so
I'm enjoying this.
much.
I keep
for your
forgetting the
time.
cameras are there, and that's dangerous.
That's good. No, that's good. I want to say thank you for all that you've done.
Thank you, and you should know you're living that life of how love leaps time and space. I mean, you're making influences on people's lives, because I don't care who you are, and I love the fact that your audience is left, right, all over, but we're all Americans, and I know you have people outside of this country.
Sure.
But when you help people live life at a higher frequency, be who they want to be, aspire, it has a ripple effect. So thank you for being an agent of change and an agent of love, and I feel grateful for you.
I feel grateful for you.
Thank you, man.
Thanks so much for your time.